China plans to ease restrictions on imports and tourism, but some in Taiwan question their motives.
It's important to remember that it was not the Tsai Ing-wen government that severed these links. It was the Chinese side that did so.
Hualien receives offers of help from some unexpected sources. Extreme heat in the Philippines is affecting the country's education. Plus,
with just a few months until the Paris Olympics, we take a closer look at Taiwan's official uniform to the opening ceremony.
good evening and welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Eric Gao. Support continues to pour in to help rebuild Hualien almost a month after a huge earthquake caused massive damage in the area. And some offers of help were unexpected. Chris Gorn has this report.
Offerings of incense are made before this building is demolished in Hualien. It's one of several structures that are condemned and slated for destruction, being damaged and deemed unsafe after this month's magnitude 7.2 earthquake. The eastern city is working to recover from the quake, and demolitions are ramping up.
明天会加派2部500型的短手的来加入拆除速度会加快。
The residents of this building specifically asked that their building be demolished, scared that the aging structure would not survive another quake. Similar decisions have been made for several other structures in the city. Offers of help have come from many sources, including China, which on Saturday offered to donate prefabricated houses for Hualien residents left homeless by the quake. Taiwanese officials say there's currently no need.
如果还有所谓的这个组合屋的需要，那我们也请花莲县政府要做完整个灾民的意愿调查之后，再来这个做相关的一个工作。
Another offer of support has come from the world-famous Taiwanese rock band Mayday, who says they will play a benefit concert in Hualien. Beyond raising funds, the concert might also raise the spirits of those whose homes are being torn down.
听到5月天要来花莲的消息，真的是我们在近期整个花莲低潮当中最好的消息了。
非常欢迎，而且是我们可以极大的激励我们花莲人的信心。
There's no easy way to rebuild after a disaster, but Hualien residents are doing their best to live with their new reality and to keep their spirits up along the way. Eason Chun and Chris Gorn for TaiwanPlus.
China's decision to loosen cross-strait trade rules and partially ease restrictions on tourism is being met with caution here in Taiwan. The announcement came after a visit to China by members of Taiwan's main opposition party. John Van Trieste has this report.
Good news for the farmers of these pomelos. After almost 2 years, China says it will reopen its market to pomelos grown in Taiwan. Nearly 5,000 metric tons of the citrus fruit made its way to Chinese store shelves in 2021. But on August 3, 2022, China suddenly closed the door. The official explanation was bugs and excess pesticides. But many saw the visit hours earlier of U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to Taipei as the real trigger. That visit infuriated Beijing, which sees Taiwan as its own and doesn't like officials from other governments coming to Taiwan. The decision to reverse this ban came during a meeting Sunday between Chinese customs officials and a visiting delegation of Taiwanese lawmakers from the main opposition Kuomintang. There's no date yet for the ban being lifted, but Taiwanese farmers are already happy.
可以多一个行销的通路的话，那对我们文旦柚农它相对的是有一些正面的帮助。
And that's not all. 2 types of fish from Taiwan are also going to be let back into China's market. Taiwan's tourism industry, hit by Chinese bans on its citizens visiting the country, is getting a boost too. After the Taiwanese delegation's visit, Beijing said it will let tourists from its coastal Fujian province travel to Taiwan's nearby Mazu Islands. And residents of 20 Chinese cities will once more be able to apply to visit Taiwan.
福建省有4-5千万的居民，这样子的一个旅客能量，对于台湾各县市的观光来说，都是一场及时雨。
Not everyone's totally satisfied. The Mainland Affairs Council, which charts Taiwan's China policy, says China shouldn't limit visitors to the Mazu Islands to residents of just one province. But the members of the delegation who got these concessions from China see their work as a success.
此行我们虽然是国民党的一小步，却是在断线8年以后两岸的一大步。 我们此行带回来给台湾人民一个丰硕的成果。
There's caution too, though, with many doubting Beijing's announcements are solely motivated by goodwill.
中国共产党在对外谈判的时候，特别是跟他的对手谈判的时候，往往强调一手硬一手软，好像把一个恩惠做给了在野的国民党，可是呢，给民进党更大的这个压力。
Whatever Beijing's intentions, there are signs that it's prepared to use whatever it takes to realize its ultimate goal, bringing Taiwan under its control. Patrick Chen and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
To learn more about the significance of the KMT visit to China, reporter Chris Gorin's back, speaking with political analyst Courtney Donovan-Smith.
So tell us a little bit about the Taiwanese politicians who have joined this delegation and what their significance might be.
The most important person is, of course, Fu Quanqi, who is the KMT caucus convener and leads his caucus. Now, he's known as the King of Hualien, and him coming along on this trip has been a little bit contentious because of the recent earthquakes in Hualien. So there's been some criticism on that. But he says that he wants to bring investment and tourists back from China. So ultimately, this trip will benefit Hualien. Now, also on this trip was Jessica Chen, the Jinmen lawmaker, and she has been working to try and release the men from the fishing boat, who is also reportedly in the military. So she's trying to secure his release.
Once this delegation arrived in China, they announced that they would lift bans on imports of Taiwanese pomelos, allow some tourists to go to the Matsu Islands. How do you think that the Tsai administration and the incoming Lai administration might respond to this? Are they going to be open to having more tourists from China?
It's important to remember that it was not the Tsai Ing-wen government that severed these links. It was the Chinese side that did so. This is kind of normal in that the Chinese side is giving the credit to taking away the restrictions that they themselves had imposed, giving the credit to the KMT. However, if they're going to reopen tourism, that's a pretty big deal. That was a big deal when it was cut, and it would be a big deal if they reopen it.
You know, Chinese diplomacy can often be quite transactional. So what's China's goal in all this? I mean, what is it that they hope to get out of it?
Yes, you're right. They're very transactional. I mean, obviously, they wanted to prop up the KMT. I think they also wanted to show the KMT legislative caucus that they can work with them, because the legislature does have some ability to change the situation, although they don't have the executive, so they're limited in what they can do. But they want to give encouragement to the KMT. It's possible that they're also signaling to the incoming Lai government that they're willing to be more flexible now, and they are willing to roll back some of the restrictions and blockages that they themselves had imposed earlier against the Tsai administration. So there may be some signaling to the incoming Lai administration.
That was Chris Gorin speaking with political analyst Courtney Donovan-Smith. The alleged leader of a human trafficking ring in Taiwan has been arrested after a 6-year search. This man is suspected of bringing hundreds of people into the country illegally, mostly from Vietnam. He was arrested in 2018 after a smuggling case involving the deaths of 3 people, but he never reported to authorities to begin his sentence, and he went into hiding. Police believe he continued his trafficking operations. Prosecutors in Kaohsiung are now handling the investigation. 2 more people have died in a Taipei food poisoning outbreak, bringing the death toll to 4. The health ministry says 1 person died on Saturday and the other on Monday from multiple organ failure. 2 other people are still hospitalized, one of whom required a liver transplant. The deaths are linked to a deadly toxin called bongkrecic acid, and that was confirmed in samples taken from the restaurant where the victims all ate in mid-March. Schools across the Philippines are closing because of extreme heat. As Harrell Hughes reports, this is more than just a few days of missing school. It's affecting students' futures.
Fans, notebooks, and even pieces of cardboard. A sweltering heat wave has swept the Philippines and classrooms have become unbearable.
So dito po sa Pilipinas po sa atin, sobrang init po talaga yung as in nakakapaso na po talaga siya ng balat. Hindi po siya tulad ng karaniwan lang po dati na init na tolerable naman po. Ngayon as in hindi po talaga ako makatagal sa init.
The heat index has hit 50 degrees Celsius in some areas. becoming a health hazard, especially for young people.
We should understand that they are really prone to several effects of extreme heat, and that can be in the form of heat stress, which is characterized by headache, dizziness, vomiting, and even fainting. There are reports over the radio and on TV that children are fainting in the classrooms.
As temperatures hit extreme highs, both students and teachers are suffering, and the government has had to act.
No, kapag ang init ay pumatak ng 40 and above, so ang nangyayari po, ang mga bata ay hindi papasok. Ganun na rin po ang mga guro, hindi na rin papasok. Ngunit meron kaming asynchronous, pwedeng magbigay na activities sa mga estudyante.
But shifting to online classes is not a viable option for every student. And each day not spent in a classroom is a day a student could fall behind in their studies.
Kagaya dun sa bahay, dun yung may internet tapos sobrang init, hindi ka makapag-focus kasi minsan nahihilo ka ganun.
Education in the Philippines has already faced setbacks. In a global study by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the country ranked 77th out of 81 in student assessments. And the extreme heat has made learning nearly impossible. As temperatures rise and schools shut down, it is the students across the country who are suffering the most. Scott Huang and Harrell Hughes for TaiwanPlus.
At least 37,000 Taiwan passports were lost in 2023. The country's foreign ministry says tens of thousands of passports are reported lost each year, and that number is growing. Earlier this month, authorities busted a fraud ring that was illegally selling Taiwanese passports to Chinese nationals. Officials say it's getting harder for them to tell if cases of lost passports are genuine or fraudulent. Taiwan's athletes are suiting up for the Paris Olympics. Sandy Chi met the designer behind the official outfits that the team Taiwan will wear to the opening ceremony.
It's sharp and athletic, resembling a formal suit, but not quite. This is the uniform Taiwan's athletes competing under the name Chinese Taipei will wear at the opening ceremony of this year's Olympics in Paris. Designer Justin Zhou came up with this design. He's been in the fashion industry for almost 2 decades, and he has a history of designing athletic wear. Taiwan's 2020 Olympic uniform was his too. This time, though, he decided to do something different.
那把奥运进场服打造一个，我觉得比较是脱离大家想象传统的制服那个刻板印象，也是一种挑战。
The theme of this collection is Taiwan Dreams, Taiwan Power. Zhou incorporated official colors of the Chinese Taipei Olympic Committee, red, white, and blue, and included elements such as mountains, seas, cities, and plains in the patterns and prints. Zhou's creations are on display in Taipei for a limited time, giving ordinary people a chance to see them up close.
其实每一段都很困难，真的，因为每一段几乎都是透过10次的打样，重新改色，重新的调整，一直在调整。
Getting from concept to finished product took 6 months, and Zhou wasn't working alone. He says working with other artists on his team wasn't always easy.
比如说鞋面的部分，这个香皂是鞋面，一天一个工艺师一天一个人工作8小时，只能织7.5公分，所以一双鞋子的鞋面其实就要4天。那他不断的在这个织的过程，其实他讲的就像运动员，你要不断的练习同一个动作。
The team was also spread out across Taiwan, requiring a fair amount of travel.
Among the artists is rotating text designer Lin Guoqing, who created the Chinese Taipei logo. And when we reverse it, it shows the phrase 加油, which means go in Mandarin.
我想我们民众在看到我们运动员的表现的时候，我们都会说加油加油加油。
Other than the creative designs and smart looks, these outfits have to be comfortable, especially since the opening ceremony will be held in the middle of the Parisian summer.
他穿着身上就像穿了一片森林在行走，是希望能够让他们的压力可以释放，感受到舒适，然后还有非常非常凉感，而且这个凉感是你碰到水才会凉感，就是你流汗，水碰到肌肤反而会更凉。
Despite all the design team's work, Public reaction was mixed.
我觉得大家蛮多人是不能接受，一般的民众看酸民很多，他有就说哇，这颜色太花啦，太亮啦。那其实我自己倒是蛮觉得说这是我预料之内的。
Still, many others were fascinated by the design.
I think it's really inventive, actually. It's quite deceptively simple, so when you see it, the silhouettes are quite standard, but actually I think the cultural innovation and the kind of thought behind the concept from the designer is really strong, actually.
觉得还蛮惊艳的，就是觉得很能代表台湾，然后也很期待这次可以在国际赛事上看到这么漂亮的衣服。
Joe says he hopes to join the athletes in Paris, a way of showing up for the team. And he says he's still ready to make any necessary adjustments to his uniforms. The ultimate goal is to make sure Taiwan's Olympians can show off the best Taiwan has to offer on the world stage. Justin Wu, Joseph Wu, and Sunny Chi for TaiwanPlus.
We're going to take a quick break. Still to come on TaiwanPlus News. Sumo wrestlers in Japan are trying to make babies cry. You heard that right. Stay tuned to find out more.
Hello and welcome to Taiwan Talks. I'm Ian Kavat. Today we examine China's engagement with Africa.
So, unfortunately, this very aggressive form of cultural revolution-like politics in China seems to be moving forward in this modern era.
This grave injustice is happening.
The issue is, what can the U.S. do to help strengthen Taiwan?
We need that kind of mindset to prepare for the warfare.
What implications does this have on Taiwan and the region as a whole?
Just like Ukraine right now, you need people to understand we're doing this for our own country.
Reaffirmed our support for the Taiwanese ability to make their own decisions about their own future.
Relationship between the United States and it's very hard to duplicate in the short time. Taiwan still can continue being the leading position if we put efforts on R&D.
And you are riding on a wave. This is exactly the time you need to double down.
Or I did not realize I am actually running to be the first Asian woman in the state senate. Our next generation, they can see Asian American is as equal and have the same platform.
Taiwan Talks provides a platform for the voices and perspectives that are shaping our country.
For more stories from here in Taiwan and around the world, visit us on social media or follow our website at TaiwanPlus.com.
We bring you stories from Taiwan
every day of the week.
Our reporters travel the nation.
Exploring the issues that matter to you.
News from here in Taiwan and around the world.
What's up, Taiwan? On TaiwanPlus. Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. A Philippine-U.S. live fire drill was cut short in the South China Sea. That's as Chinese Navy ships continue to shadow the drills. Rick Lauert is observing the drills at the invite of the Philippine Navy. He brings us this report.
Warships from the United States and the Philippines are conducting live fire target practice here off the Philippine island of Palawan in the South China Sea. It's part of annual exercises between the two allies known as Balikatan, which literally means shoulder to shoulder. But China opposes this military cooperation in an area it claims sovereignty over, and Beijing has sent its own navy to shadow these drills. A Chinese spy ship came as close as 2 nautical miles of a US Navy vessel taking part in live fire drills, and the exercise was not completed. More than 16,000 troops and a dozen ships, not just from the Philippines and the US, but also France and Australia, are taking part in Balikatan 2024. And for the first time, activities are also taking place beyond Philippine territorial waters and in its exclusive economic zone, an area contested by China.
This joint exercise is conducted to show the unity of the two nations in promoting regional peace, security and stability.
But the South China Sea is becoming a bigger point of conflict between Beijing and Washington in a relationship that continues to be strained. On a highly anticipated trip to Beijing, top US diplomat Antony Blinken was warned by China to not step on its red lines when it comes to sovereignty and defence. The world's two largest economies, China and the US, have plenty to disagree on, from Russia's war on Ukraine to China's claim to sovereignty over self-ruled Taiwan. But here in the South China Sea, those differences are writ large, as the country's two militaries throw their weight about in these disputed waters. Alex Chen and Rick Lowett in the South China Sea for TaiwanPlus.
At least 5 people are dead and dozens hurt after a tornado hit the city of Guangzhou in southern China on Saturday. Emergency rescue workers completed their search of the city's affected district over the weekend. State media says hundreds of factories were damaged. Guangzhou is the capital of Guangdong province, one of China's major industrial centers. The region has seen a wave of extreme weather and flooding in recent weeks. At least 4 people have died in the U.S. state of Oklahoma after dozens of tornadoes swept the region. The U.S. National Weather Service said at least 38 twisters hit the Southern Plains region, with around 7 million people under tornado warnings. Over 100 injuries have been reported in Oklahoma, and dozens of structures were damaged. The state governor has declared an emergency. A group of industrious divers are using the moon to salvage shipwrecks near Myanmar's largest city. Bryn Thomas looks at how they're braving currents and pollution to earn a bit of cash.
Tan Yunt reckons there's at least 30 wrecks on the silty bed of the Yangon River. Some date back to the colonial period. Others were sent to the bottom during World War II, and others still sank during 2008's devastating cyclone Nargis. Tan Yunt would know. Over a 4-decade career, he has salvaged around 40 ships from the rivers around Myanmar's biggest city. Using the river's tide, Tan Yunt's team, his water brothers, salvage wrecks without having to use heavy machinery. During low tide, his team dive into the river with improvised equipment and tie their target to shore. Then they wait. The moon takes over, the tide comes in, and the wreck is dragged just a little bit closer to the bank. In a country where the average person makes less than $2 a day, the scrap they salvage provides a tidy living. But it's dangerous work. The Water Brothers make do with homemade diving equipment in strong currents in murky waters. They communicate with ropes. One stiff tug means come up quickly. But for Tan Yunt and his team, the rewards outweigh the risks. They get a bit of adventure, action, and the sense of history. With their latest haul, the 53-meter Emerald River pulled up on bank. The Water Brothers are busying themselves with shipbreaking. While they do, Tan Yunt is eyeing the waters for his next prize. Leon Lian and Bryn Thomas for TaiwanPlus.
Every year, Japanese temples hold contests for sumo wrestlers to make babies cry. The first toddler to shed tears comes out on top. Wesley Lewis has the story.
Crying their eyes out, these tearful toddlers are participating in a 400-year-old tradition. Around Children's Day, Shinto shrines throughout Japan hold the Nakizumo festival. Sumo wrestlers hold the babies, while event organizers taunt the children with colorful frocks and demon masks. The first baby to cry is declared the winner.
記念になって直前まで泣いてたので勝てるかなと思ったんですけど、力士さんに抱っこしてもらったらめちゃくちゃ笑顔になっちゃったんで、まあそれもいい記念になりました。
The traditional festival is based on the belief that an innocent baby's tears ward off evil spirits. Many parents believe the louder the cry, the healthier the child. The most renowned Nakizumo festival is held in Asakusa, Tokyo, where around 100 babies faced off in the ring this year.
素敵なことだと思います。なんです昔からある行事ということで、子供の思い出にもなりますし、これが続いていけばこのリコの子供にもまた続いていくのかなと思うので、いい思い出としていい行事だと思います。
During the pandemic, many of these festivals were canceled, but now they have come back in full swing. Parents are hoping this centuries-old ritual will pass down, but above all, they're hoping to create memories with their children. May the best crybaby win. Delphine Chen and Wesley Lewis for TaiwanPlus.
Thanks for watching TaiwanPlus News. Grab our app or follow us on social media to get updates sent straight to your phone. And before we go, check out these giant Pokemon balloons floating on Sukchong Lake in Seoul. Gotta snap them all. I'm Eric Gao. We'll see you next time.